Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2023 Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate ceremony. My name is Gina Trinisi.
I am Sadiqa Poindexter.
And together, we are the co-executive directors of the Nebraska Writers Collective, and we will double as your MCs for the evening. We have a really incredible show lined up for you tonight, which will feature work from two of our contest judges, the current Youth Poet Laureate of Nebraska for a couple more hours, and the 5 finalists who are in the running for this year's title. The Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate program is a joint initiative of Urban Word NYC and the Nebraska Writers Collective. This is a national network that begins for us at the state level and produces poets like our 2021 inaugural poet, Amanda Gorman. The winner of the Nebraska YPL position will have the opportunity to apply for the regional and national competitions. It is possible the next inaugural poet is in this room tonight.
Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate will win $1,000, 6 public readings and performances across the state, and up to $2,000 for a community engagement project of their own design. Additionally, we will match the YPL with a creative and civic mentor so they can build up their leadership networks and receive year-long guidance from experts in their field. This year, with the growth of our program, we have proudly partnered with Civic Nebraska, a nonprofit that believes in building a more modern and robust democracy for all Nebraskans. Civic Nebraska has generously agreed to provide a civic mentor for our newly appointed Youth Poet Laureate. We're grateful for the ways they continue to champion the intersection of youth and leadership in the arts in our state. As Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate, it is not enough to be a good poet. We are looking for good people, good leaders, and good writers who are growth-minded, young people who are always looking to push against the boundaries of their notebooks and the status quo. With more applications this year than ever before, the quality of competition was steep. Our 7 judges were tasked with ranking applications and selecting 5 finalists who they consider to be excellent poets and exceptional human beings.
I'd like to welcome 2 of those judges to the stage so that you can hear more about their experience as readers of the incredible poetry portfolios we've received this year. Despite being from Lafayette, Louisiana, Arden Eli Hill has never wrestled an alligator, only a kangaroo. Arden holds a PhD in creative writing from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln with a specialization in women and gender studies and an MFA from Hollins University. Arden's work has been published in Western Humanities Review, Tupelo Quarterly, the Lambda Literary Award-winning anthology First Person Queer, and its sequel, Second Person Queer, among other journals. His most recent project is a chapbook, Bloodwater Parish, published by Seven Kitchens Press. In case you are still thinking about the kangaroo, Arden won. It's okay to laugh. I know that we're in a small community here, but it's okay if you want to chuckle and think that things are funny. I want to have a really nice time tonight. And so if we all just want to take a deep breath together, this is going to be a blast. I promise. I really do promise. Each year, I am tasked with recruiting judges for our Youth Poet Laureate program. And each year, I get anxious about a completely unfounded fear that no one will respond to my requests. But how will we have a contest if no one agrees to judge? My brain asks on loop. More times than not, I am an absolute stranger calling a writer or a community organizer I admire to ask for their participation in this program. Arden Eli Hill was my first yes of this year's program. I sent him an email on a Monday in December, and within 2 hours, he sent back an email, the first line of which read, "I'd be thrilled." Arden is a discerning poet, a kind soul who chooses his words carefully. His thrill reminded me that our community considers this work worth doing, that we have writers and leaders constantly in our corner, and that I should spend my brain space worrying about something else. Arden, I am so thankful for your enthusiastic commitment to these students, their work, and our organization. Please welcome to the stage, Arden Eli Hill.
Thank you. And I'd like to start by thanking the co-executive directors of the Nebraska Writers Project, GT and Sadiqa Poindexter. I'm so glad that they reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to be a part of this incredible project. I'm sure that it will continue to grow and inspire youth across Nebraska and beyond. I'd also like to thank my fellow judges, Audrey Nance, Jeffrey Southall II, Nancy Berg, JP Perrine, Lenora Castile, Angelina Margargill. Finally, this whole undertaking would not have been possible were it not for our youth poets who bravely submitted work to this year's competition. Thank you for sharing your work with us. When I was in the 9th grade, about the same age as some of our youth who entered this year's Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate contest, my English teacher offered me to show my poetry to a poet friend of hers, a real adult poet. I was nervous, but I agreed, and I still remember both the poet's advice and his treatment of me as a peer in a field I was growing increasingly passionate about. I was taken seriously. I was welcomed in. The youth poets whose work I read this year are far more organized and professional than I was at their age. They are tapped into their communities with specific goals and dreams beyond a vague sense of making the world a better place. They have thought critically about the gardens they would plant, the murals they would paint, the programs to assist Nebraska's most vulnerable populations. They care about neighbors and strangers from the local level to the global. Their poems are linked to themselves and the wider world, which is part of what I love about being able to help choose a poet to go forth and represent Nebraska. Poetry might not be what people think from out of state when they think of Nebraska. Heck, they might not think of Nebraska as they drive through us or fly over us. But a program like this makes a positive statement about our state's values and the people who live here. Here in Nebraska, we are the home to people like the Omaha, Winnebago, Ponca, Iowa, Santee Sioux, Sac, Fox, and others. We are the home of people of settler descent, those whose ancestors were brought here by force, and groups who have arrived more recently, like the Karen, Yazidi, and others. Tonight, we have gathered in Omaha from a variety of points in Nebraska to celebrate. In my role as a judge this year, I learned a great deal about the issues that Nebraska youth ages 14 through 19 are passionate about. I learned about the incredible talent our state's emerging poets hold. We call them youth poets to highlight the particular point of life that they are writing from. We could just as easily call them poets. Each submission was a pleasure to read. Each taught me and bestowed on me some wider truth or some particular insight. In reading these works, I feel like I've gotten to know the poets to some degree, and I'd like to know more about all of them. Youth poets, we are crowning one of you tonight, but all of you have achieved a significant accomplishment. I'm glad poetry is a part of your lives. My writing mentor, Tony Amato, you're never too old to have mentors, and I always make sure I have at least one mentor under 30 in my life, likes to say that poetry will save us before dishing out a line of poetry or an entire poem for a writing prompt. I agree, and so I am indebted to you all. I believe, like the Romantic poet Percy Shelley, that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. He meant that poetry and poets have a profound ability to spur social change, to transform communities and rally people to the side of justice, diversity, inclusion, and love. Tonight, we get to acknowledge you, and I am glad. Every few years or so, skeptics like to declare that poetry is meaningless, or even that it's dead. Poetry is alive and well, and though we can derive wisdom from poets of the past, you, the poets of the present and future, also have much to offer us. From the work I read in this contest, I've seen honesty, vulnerability, a passion for helping others, and love. Part of what I love about this program is that it is youth-focused. As a reader for Prairie Schooner Journal at UNL, I read the most recent work of active poets, the stuff that hasn't been published yet. In being a judge this year, I also got to read recent work from emerging poets who not only have their futures before them, but have solid roots in the past and present. I would love to continue to see these poets' poems as an editor and as a reader at large. What they are doing is important, and they are taking their place among poets, and specifically Nebraska poets. We didn't, and as far as I know, don't, have a youth poet program in my home state of Louisiana, y'all. After being a part of this year's program, I'd like to get the ball rolling on that, and I hope people from other states see Nebraska and think what they could do, and thus a wider community of youth poets could be created. Youth poets, I have some advice that I didn't learn until I was past the age where I could have entered a contest like this. Get to know each other. Gathered around you tonight are your contemporaries, your peers, your cohort, your allies, more than your competition. Engage or exchange information and poetry and friendship with each other. Take risks and opportunities even if they scare you. I imagine some of you felt some concern about your poems being read by total strangers. You'll acclimate to your worries even if they don't go away completely. I know my anxiety about speaking in front of people is here with me tonight. Everyone who entered this year's contest achieved something important, and your successes will build on each other. Be proud of what you've done in entering this contest. You've all crafted a resume, written and revised poems, dreamed of a project to make life better, and hit the submit button, which gave me and my fellow judges the invaluable opportunity to read your work. Be proud of what you're doing by being in this room tonight. You're in good company and deserve to be celebrated. Be proud of what you can and will do, all of you in futures as poets. I know we are incredibly proud of you all. Thank you again to everyone involved.
Thank you, Arden. So Jeffrey Southall II is an Omaha native and first-generation college student. He attended the historically Black university, Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Literature. He received his Master of Science degree in counseling with a concentration in student affair practices in higher education from the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and is presently completing his Doctorate of Philosophy degree in educational leadership in higher education from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. Mr. Southall is an active and proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, the 100 Black Men Chapter of Omaha, and sits on the Board of Directors for the Community Alliance of Omaha, Nebraska. Mr. Southall proudly serves the University of Nebraska at Omaha as Associate Director of Student Service and Leadership Collaborative. On a more personal note, I kept seeing Jeffrey's face at arts events and had really engaging conversations with him in the halls of the Barbara White's Community Engagement Center on UNO's campus, where we both have our offices. So when Gina and I were considering which humans we might ask to judge this competition, Jeffrey's longstanding leadership and commitment to community made him a natural fit. And when I wandered into his office and asked if he considered judging this program, his immediate response was an emphatic yes. A few weeks later, Jeffrey, along with 6 other judges, officially received the Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate applications. And when we ran into each other the next time, he was raving about art, about young people, about poetry, about the process of moving from heavy topics into spaces of joy. Jeffrey's passionate response about what he was reading was a needed reminder that joy is what this program is about. This program is a celebration of community and art and young Nebraskans who are truly building the future I cannot wait to see. Jeffrey, you are an undeniable light, and I thank you so much for the intelligence and the emotion you brought to this program. Please welcome to the stage, Jeffrey Southall II.
Dang, Zadika. I didn't write that, they wrote that, y'all. I didn't do that. But I'm so happy to be here. I can talk about how impressed I was by reading your poems and the passages that all of you submitted, but I prefer to lean into my gratefulness of how your work empowered and encouraged me. I experienced your work to be high above mediocrity and was encouraged to read not only the words that were so eloquently put together, but to experience all of you on a personal level, that where each of you brought me into your world in reality. I took that experience as an honor, but also, again, as a gift of empowerment for myself. Many times we as adults, we position ourselves to know best in leading our young people, to mentor them and offer the best advice and recommendations so that we may assist you in the prevention of you making the same mistakes or missteps as us. We actually step in to realign your poor judgment calls sometimes to then place you in a better position to access to opportunities. But I do think that we as adults, professional adults at that, have moments that we do miss where we actually can learn from you. In my experience, not as a judge, but rather reading and studying each of you through your poetry and literature, I saw much of myself in this judging process. But it was your work that allowed me to sit down, be still, to realign and reassess myself and that which matters. So I want to openly thank you for all of you for that experience. This cathartic moment, the cathartic moments that I had in sitting down and studying your work, to then inwardly reflect on myself, on that which is important. In these moments, I was able to be quiet and quiet the noise of work and school to be free in coming back to myself, my wonderful self, my extraordinary self. So again, I do want to thank you for giving yourself to help me restore myself. I want to thank Zadika and GT for thinking about me and presenting me with the opportunity to be a part of this organized movement of recognizing our talent across the state of Nebraska in the form of literature and poetry. During my undergraduate years, as you will know, I'm a proud HBCU graduate who came back to Omaha, and I love being back home. I started off as an English education major because I wanted to teach English language arts because I loved English. I loved communicating. However, I was not much of a communicator. I didn't like talking, but I did love listening to people. And by listening, you learn about people, who they are, where they come from, and what makes them who they are. I have always been captivated by people and sharing of themselves. And so in that, I inclined my heart to English, and I wanted to share my passion with young people. I knew I wanted to teach English, so I did an internship in Atlanta, Georgia, where I taught 8th grade English, which I loved. The students were outstanding. I loved Atlanta, and I lived there for 3 to 4 months, and I loved the culture there. While I did have a great time, I left the experience knowing I could not see myself staying within 4 walls of a high school for 7 to 8 hours a day. I'm sure I would have been a wonderful teacher, but I had to be honest with myself, and I know that high school was not the area that I was to serve, at least not directly. I knew I wanted to be in education. As my college experience matured, I knew that I was going to be in higher education at some point, because I wanted to work and wanted to give back to the college experience of young people, especially students who were like me, who were first gen, no sense of what the college expectations were and what to expect from the university, and what the university was to expect from me. I wanted to be in that process and that development because I had so many that made me their responsibility on campus, and making sure that I not only graduated before returning to Omaha, but I was holistically developed and prepared for life after graduation. So when this opportunity came to be a part of this contest, I responded with an immediate yes, because going back to my internship experience and thinking about my returning to Wilberforce, I told my advisor I had a wonderful time in Atlanta, who of course, who wouldn't, but I wanted to go straight to English and wanted to go straight English versus English education. I enjoyed all of my classes, British literature, Shakespeare, all the way to African literature, to poetry and to creative writing. I loved it because I understood the English and literature language, which was free for interpretation. It is in this exploration of what was the writer thinking when they wrote what they wrote, what was the time that they wrote it in, what was their inspiration, and what was going on during that period. And exactly how did they see life, and how did life see them? How did they see the world, or how did they even think the world saw them? All of that was so intriguing to me because there were so many different lenses that you could play around with, and no one was there to tell me what was the right or wrong answer. I love that so much, where it is today that everything isn't black and white, right? And so, of course, I learned that firsthand by attending an HBCU, which is on a campus that is predominantly Black. Removing the color factor and being on a dominated campus, we were actually able to remove the color and elevate the culture development and its understanding it all. I often talk about my first engagement with diversity with people and in the classroom, and I tell them was when I went to my HBCU, seeing that we all represented various interpretations of Blackness. I represented Blackness in Omaha. My other friends represented the perspective of Blackness in Washington, D.C., New York, Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, Alabama, California, Idaho, and Sugar Land, Mississippi. These were all perspectives of Blackness. And we were all able to joke and tease each other about these differences, but we were also able to check off the box that we were Black and now had to challenge each other up with what else? What is it that makes us unique? What is it that makes us us? What is it that makes us our unique selves that we can stand along each other and say that though we are all identified as Black, we are not the same? We found that so intriguing and so enlivening that we then learned from each other, getting to know each other, lessened our biases about the world, separate from the color of our skin, but in regards to our understanding of the world and what was and what wasn't, and what stood to be challenged. I loved when I was in college because I had the opportunity to travel all over the world, singing, which is a favorite pastime of mine. I don't do it currently, but I sang in college because I was on scholarship. So I had no choice because I needed the money. So I'm going to tell you, I do love the reaction of people when I travel, when they ask me where I'm from. They take a good look at me, and then they say that I'm lying when I tell them I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Most have challenged me where I've had to pull out my license and show them that I am a resident of Nebraska. No one ever expects me to say that, being a Black man from Omaha too. At first they think that I moved here and surely could not have been born. I love the Youth Poet Laureate competition because it has elevated Nebraska, taking Nebraska out of the box of being only fit for entrepreneurship and a wonderful place to get an education and a wonderful place to have a career, flourish, and establish yourself. It has elevated itself to the artistry, creativity, originality, and plain authenticity of Nebraska. So when the question is asked, what good thing can come out of Nebraska? I look at you, the finalist, and the next poet laureate, and can't help but repeat one of my favorite rap icons of the 1990s. Y'all probably won't get this, but those in the room, if you're with me, if they say they can't find nothing good in Nebraska, I'm gonna look at y'all and say, whoop. Come on, y'all, I'm here. I'm in the right place, that's what's up. And so with that, I want to encourage and empower all of you. No matter what part of Nebraska you're from, when you travel, you represent Nebraska, but you also give people another idea of what Nebraska is. And we are more than just Cornhuskers, more than just Cornhuskers and good steak. We live our lives and we are free to live them as best we understand ourselves. And that's how we represent ourselves, not only in Nebraska, but when we explore the world. We give people another experience. We give them the Nebraska experience by engaging with our authentic selves. So continue in your originality and authenticity, because in both, there is so much power that it cannot be held just in one hand or fathomed in a singular idea. You are not to be simply understood, but to be complexly admired, and that's the beauty of it. Be your authentic self. People look at you as if they're looking through a kaleidoscope of different colors and shapes. Your originality, your authenticity is something that cannot be viewed in just one color or just one shape. It is a masterpiece. So I again encourage all of you to walk in your masterpiece, to be the masterpiece, because it's through the masterpiece that you give people the experience of Nebraska when they meet you. It is my expectation for all of you, the appointed Youth Poet Laureate, as well as the finalists, to walk in that, because there's only one of you. And when there's only one of you, it can be some heavy lifting at times, but it also is a lot of fun because you get to be yourself and no one else. You get to explore yourself unapologetically, unashamedly. I wish at your age I had someone to convince me that it was okay to be myself, that it was okay to be Jeffrey, that it was okay to think the way I thought, inquire that which confused me. It was okay to just be and not be so stressed out to fit in a box that I was never meant to fit in, be folded in, or mend. It wasn't until college when I learned to love myself, and even that I was late in the game. But I'm so grateful that it happened when it did, because I'm able to learn more about myself in a society that pushes me to be my best self. I was able to love myself and be smitten with myself. I was a Black man that loved singing classical and operatic music, who also loved literature, and who got all of my professors' corny jokes. Reading anthologies, narratives, novels, poems helped me to be more in tune with the human condition and understand the joys, the sorrows, the hurt, the pain, the excitement, the happiness, and the fear of the human race. Poetry is what I like to think the music from the soul on paper. Poetry is what makes the world go round, speaking from the heart and souls of artists like yourselves. Poetry is the kindness and fluidity that is the unspoken life source of our feelings and emotions, the truth of our feelings and emotions that are unbridled, unreserved, and unapologetically stated. It is the one form of communication and artistry, creativity that sometimes goes unrecognized. Oftentimes, just as seen as a hobby, some see us as a talent. But poetry is so much more than that. It is language. It is language put to the music of our feelings and of our lives, of who we are as individuals. It is the second language of our souls, and those who are able to put pen to paper and put tongue to life, those are the masters of it. They are the ones who have mastered and tapped into the fullness of their souls. In the school systems and in higher education, it's more important that this form of communication to be better researched and given more space in a way that allows young people like yourselves to not only speak in this language when you're in your room or when you're at the library or at school in your thinking time. There has to be a space of creation where this language can be commonly spoke, shared, and experienced. So continue in your truth, your lifestyle, and sharing your life source and sharing your lifeblood. Because you see, when people are happy or when they're sad, when they're fearful and when they're confident, when they're angry, when they're in love and when they're in power, they look to poetry to best articulate their feelings and their emotions. It is a poem that best articulates their experience far better than their mouths can utter. I think about the poets I studied in college who are now deceased. I was enriched by learning them in college, feeling their inspirations and who they were and where they came from and why they wrote what they wrote. I am now dependent on all of you who sit before me as living masterful practitioners of poetry. Remember, you are agents of invigoration, power shifting, and an alternative way of communicating. So without you, without your words, without your creativity, and without your artistry, we are left with no voice and are frustrated in our poverty of words. So in this reality, you mustn't cease writing, you mustn't cease thinking, and you mustn't cease feeling. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I think it's so important that poets have the chance to hear from two of the people who sat with your poems and sat with your art. It is not an understatement to say that every human who received your work and read it was changed by it. And I hope you're able to sit with some of the advice that was given to you. What a gift from these two wonderful souls, and continue writing and continue on. Nothing stops here. Nothing stops in this room. Everything just continues on. Your art is so important, and we are so excited to hear from you all next. Brief housekeeping note, this mic and sound system, glorious. I am speaking at a very comfortable, gentle volume. Can folks hear me okay in the back? Wonderful. I'm even going to lower this microphone just a little bit because my P sound and my B sound might pop on the microphone, just like that. And if I get nervous and touch the podium, you're going to hear that too, okay? So just be aware of your body, read on the mic, you're going to be fabulous. This is what everyone has been waiting for. This is the moment. Poets, this is your time to shine. Please be prepared to step into your excellence. I am honored to introduce your 2023-24 Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate finalists. Yay! This year, we asked our finalists to write and submit their own bios so that you can hear what's important to them in their own words. Imagine Spencer is an 8th grader at Beveridge Magnet Middle School. While only in junior high, Imagine has accomplished and is destined to accomplish many immeasurable feats. Imagine is a poet, public speaker, and youth advocate. Imagine uses poetry to share her testimonies, experiences, opinions, tribulation, and culture. Imagine has won first place in the Delta Sigma Theta Black History Writing Contest, Brown v. Board Arts Competition. Her short story writing took second place and her art took first place, and is featured on a 50-foot mural in Topeka, Kansas, at the Brown v. Board National Historic Site. In 2022 and 2023, respectively, Imagine won first and second place in the annual Living the Dream Original Social Justice Short Essay Music, Dance, and Poetry Competition. Imagine enjoys reading, writing, shopping, and traveling with her mom. Please give a warm welcome for Imagine Spencer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Gina, for that introduction. As you all know, I'm an 8th grader at Beveridge Middle School, and for the sake of transparency, I must admit that I am terrified, but I am equally just as much excited to be here with you all tonight and share my writing. So my first poem is titled Adolescence, and it is kind of just my experience as an adolescent, and hopefully you all will enjoy. Adolescence. Adolescence can be defined as the period following the onset of puberty during which a person develops from a child to an adult. In other words, it's the moment we as teenagers deem being ourselves a fault. They say it is a transitional stage of physical and psychological development. I say it commences the stage of self-abandonment. We begin to abandon who we are and focus on who we are becoming. Rather than growing to peer pressure, we are succumbing. Not to say it's our fault, or even yours. We've only society to blame because we are taught to change ourselves for a claim to fame. Adolescence is the painstakingly real moment when we realize we are suddenly more adult than child. We are suddenly told to sit still, don't be wild. We are suddenly told to forget how to play. Well, I still want to play, much to society's dismay. I still want to laugh and sing and play in the front yard while around the rosy we ring. Adolescence makes the distinction between reality and pretend much clearer. Because in reality, do we love what we see in the mirror? In reality, we lose our innocence long before adolescence. We've long been robbed of our spirit and effervescence. Adolescence. Society tells us to smile, but we want to cry. We're supposed to live, but we want to die. I remember when I couldn't wait to grow up. Adolescence, what have you done? Thank you. So my next piece is called Dear Black Girl. Dear Black girl, you were never meant to win. You were never meant to embody being Kunta Kinte kin. You were born at the bottom. You are meant to stay there. You will be ridiculed and taunted for rocking your natural hair. Dear Black girl, they will tell you your skin is not beautiful. This is only because your beauty is not usual to them and society standards. They will say you are ghetto and you have no manners. They will try your hardest to make you feel inferior. They will do all that they can to make you hate your exterior. Dear Black girl, in spite of all of their efforts, you will hold your head high because you are truly a treasure. Dear Black girl, you will love your hair. You will understand that it is out of admiration that they stop and stare. Dear Black girl, you will cherish your skin. You will see the beauty from outside and from within. Dear Black girl, you will remember who you are. Dear Black girl, you are a star. Thank you. Thank you all so much for having me. All of my gratitude to you, Gina and Zadika. I'm so excited to see what everyone else has in store.
Thank you, Imagine. Our next reader is going to be Aaliyah American Horse. Aaliyah American Horse is currently a senior at Gordon Rushville High School, who will continue her education at Black Hills State University. She plans to study business and law, as well as study Native American studies. She is an artist, poet, musician, actress, and advocate for all that she is passionate about. Some things that she is passionate about are helping Native American communities, equal rights, and destigmatizing mental health and addiction. Her passions shine through in all of her artistic work. She has received many awards in journalism, including a state championship for editorial cartooning. In 2022, she received first place in the Nebraskans for the Arts Poetry Advocacy Contest, where her poetry was published. She has spent her entire life dedicated to family, friends, and school, so it is no doubt that she will spend the rest of her life in dedication to helping the world. Everybody, give it up for Aaliyah American Horse.
Hi, everybody. Just get this set up. I'm a little nervous, so. The first poem, called Legless and Running, was written to depict mental health and a little-known disease called restless leg syndrome. Legless and running. I'm running and running and running, away from the pressure put on my feet and the essence of my ability to concentrate. A wheel of arbitrary conceptions, and I am the rodent that never wins that race. Rather, I remain in the same place with the same contemplations. My theory is that my intellect deceived my legs and the tendons and bones that crest them. It's as if the strips and folds of the muscles that line the branches in which I walk are being pulled to my toes, as if a little kid were peeling brie, one by one. Or little bugs, I find myself thinking bees, have found a hive in a small layer between my skin and muscles. They buzz and cause my legs to fly, and eventually I can't tell the difference between honey and blood. So I lay restless and bounce from the pillows to the floor, unable to find the consolation of sleep. Yet I find myself parallel to the dirt, and the ceiling above my head tries to talk to me. Seemingly, they agree with my unconscious mind and tell my legs to abandon my body, to escape the never-ending cycle of my brain's capacity and the ability to outrun light, to escape the never-ending cycle of my brain's and slowly rip to shreds any bit of reality I might still hide, one by one. Though my eyes beg for the califaction of the back of a lid and my lungs yearn for the familiarity of a sleepy rhythmic tune of the nighttime's breath, my legs will never slow down to think about the body in which they hold. They just chase my sanity that ran away a long time ago. So they keep running and running and running. The next poem I wrote to portray a car wreck I had experienced and all of the pain that embodied it, while also talking about the mental health. Steel graves and October days. 10/10/436, October laid her sweet kiss. On a Nebraska afternoon, cruising sunny dirt roads looking for tomorrow. Dips and curves laid deep, engraved by generations of teenage dreams and drunken summer speed. Rusted barbed wire entangled between rotting posts hide the words to our story and frame our faces in the back roads. An engine follows the trails at 80 as her frame whispers quiet save me's. She barrels down those country roads. She wakes up those dips and curves and she makes them her own. When the wheels spin so fast they fly and the rear bumper kisses each side, the wind will stop blowing and the sun will stop smiling down on that dirty road as that steel grave rolled. She woke up the land and blew up storms of clouds of dirt. The dirt turned to the mud in our ears and the dust in our lungs and buried our minds in the earth. October's breath cut short as our worlds were set afire by silence, hearing nothing but the ringing sounds of a language only God spoke. Our hearts still beat and our legs still walked, but our souls and lives grim had caught. We were dropped in 6 feet deep still graves on a simple October day. 10/10/436, October laid her bitter kiss. The next poem was inspired by a myth that circulates in my community of the drunken Native American, and truly how condescending and twisted some people can be towards a certain group of people. Drunk Indians. The devil shares a bottle with my nation, drinking her right down to his home. America, land of the free and home of possibility. Except when your skin isn't heavenly pure and your family name didn't come across the British Sea. My white friends are scared to drive through my reservation in fear of their life, when in reality, we are fighting for our own. A girl once told me how the drunk Indians made our small town dirty, as if this land was ours to begin with. But what bothers me is the drunk Indian myth. I have families who drank their liver dry. I know people who sat on the side of the road and died because they couldn't stumble their way home one night. I've been to more funerals than weddings, which is why my family is so close, because you never know. We pass around bottles of vodka and whiskey to mourn what they've taken and drown the pain, as we know we'll find the same grave. Because we are no longer brave warriors. We are just livers filled to the brim with sin, and to you, just another drunk Indian. The final poem, which was inspired by the MMIW movement, I created in hope for it to spark something in the world to help bring home all the missing Native American women whose names are not being said enough. Shed no tears, Unchi. I'll sit in your lap and listen to your tales as you put my dark hair into braids. Unchi, tell me the stories of your days. The wars and Wounded Knee and your fallen brothers and the stories of the hills. Grandmother, tell me of your sisters and brothers as you bless my skin with your worn calluses. Tell me what it's like to be a Native woman and how to grow old and tell stories just like you. Teach me how to sew our family's star quilts and braid my own children's hair, unless my life is taken before I get there. And you are the one to sew my quilt I am buried with. When my eyes are closed after Fraggle Rock and my limbs are found in Grass Creek, Unchi, don't cry when my skin becomes game and I'm hunted for my long, dark braids. Shed no tears when men find me easy to murder and easy to rape. And the news channels won't bother saying my last name. But in my name will justice lurk? Justice for my sisters never found and murdered. Say, afraid of his horses, Long Soldier, or Bluebird. Maybe you'll see signs going through the res with my name plastered across. Unchi, maybe you'll cry every night at your lost granddaughter. No amount of signs and words can bring back these fallen warriors who were killed at the hands of men. Don't cry, Unchi. For it was not my fault that our blood has bled. Just tell our stories and never let my sisters' names fall dead. Thank you, and good luck to everyone else.
Stunning. I told y'all. These are the top 5. It was a fierce competition. All right. Coming up to the stage next, Tatiana Copeland. Tatiana Copeland is a 15-year-old poet attending the UNO OPS Middle College. She is from a single-parent family with 2 older sisters. She has learned what it is like to struggle, to not have everything you want, and to come out on top and be stronger. Her sisters are 33 and 30. They used to live with Copeland, but at times it often felt like she was an only child. This has made her stronger and given her the ability to be more confident in herself. Through her experiences, she's learned hard work pays off, being kind to others is the best, and learned to adjust to the many changes life is throwing at every one of us. In her free time, she enjoys art, writing, dancing, and obsessing over Korean pop music, or K-pop. Please welcome to the stage Tatiana Copeland.
So I am very nervous like everyone else. So as many said, I have been enjoying art, dancing in my spare time. Looking forward to be able to continue to study and learn Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and hopefully one day teach students to English in foreign countries. I'd also like to contribute to tell my story and spread the word about what matters and what I find important, which leads me to my first poem. The first poem I'll be reading is titled September 18th, 2018, and is a poem about my attempt at suicide. Please feel free to leave if you are uncomfortable with the situation. I wrote this poem as an acceptance of what I have done in the past. I wanted to finally be able to come to terms with my past and truly let it go. And this poem is my way of doing so. Again, if you need to, feel free to leave. I stare blankly at the ceiling, music blasting, yet I don't hear a sound. All I can hear is my thoughts, that voice that is not mine, whispering, do it. No one will care. You're nothing in this world, so just do it. All right, is all I whisper back. I'll go to my bookshelf, pulling out a book I knew no one would open. I open it, grabbing a letter, and grab a letter I had not written so long ago. I only stare until I chuckled. It's time. I grab my clothes, phone, speaker, and letter. I walk out of my room announcing, I'm taking a shower. Mom replies, okay, before looking back at the TV, along with my sisters. I take one last glance before entering the bathroom. I lock the door, and as soon as it's closed, play my music. So loud, no one can hear what I'm about to do. I filled the tub, sat my note on the counter, my hands shaking, tears in my eyes as I whisper, I'm sorry. I walk to the tub, turning on the tap, taking one last breath, closing my eyes. I begin to step in, but freeze. Tears finally escaping my eyes. I fall to my knees, bawling, listening to their words. You've shown me I have reasons. I should love myself. Crying harder, I only see them, the 7 faces behind the words. Thank you, I cry. Thank you. After the last note, I wipe my tears. Getting up, I drain the tub, wetting my hair before changing my clothes. I comb through my black hair while staring in the mirror. Why should I be here? No! I quickly say while shaking my thoughts away. I leave the bathroom to only hear laughter. I chuckle, thinking, you didn't even realize what was happening. I continue to my room, shutting the door. I look around, I feel numb again. I sigh looking at my phone. September 18th, 2018, 5:35 p.m. September 18th, what a day. Thank you. The next poem I will read is titled My Courage. I actually wrote this poem a couple months before I wrote September 18th, 2018. This poem is a sign of where I began to start my journey into trying to be the best me I could possibly be. It was in the stage where I was still struggling with my mental health, but I was also finding a sense of self-confidence. It was after I had been going through a grieving process of a broken friendship. I also wrote this because I feel that we hear stories about the acts of courage people take, but never the little ones. So I decided to write a poem about my personal moment of courage, and this is how I got my poem, and I now will be reading My Courage. Having courage, it takes a lot, but what is it exactly? People talk about police, military, and firefighters being courageous, risking their lives for others, which is courage, just on a way bigger scale. What about that smaller scale? That one where the girl who will smile even though she's being crying all night lies, or the boy who was there for his best friend even though he was okay, or even me. Having courage is suffocating, about to do something even though you can't breathe, back off only so you can, only to feel empty again. I can't tell her I don't have enough air in my lungs, words in my mouth, a place to set my thoughts. You want me to speak, but even I don't know what to say. My brain is twirling, my thoughts are swirling. I don't know what they are saying. I don't want to know what they are saying because I know where they are leading. They are leading to worlds away from what I know. I'm scared to run through this room of flames, burning me as if they are rising from down under, burning me because I can no longer run because of my lungs that are filled with smoke. I want to live, I want to breathe. Save me, I scream, only to realize I am in a bad dream. I am now in an open field. I am alone. I look around, a sound too loud for me to bear goes off, closing my eyes, holding my ears, and when they open, I am on a battlefield. Bullets fly left to right, though I do not care, because all I see is her. Her who is stuck dead in her tracks, for she has a gun pointed at her head. I ran in the way only to be shot down. Pain runs through me. I saved her, the one I love. I look up to the sky, closing my eyes, thinking I saved her. But then a darkness overshadows me. I weakly open my eyes, seeing her smirking with the gun and matches in her hand. No, stop this nightmare as a reality. You started the fire, you shot me down, you killed me. This is my nightmare I do not want to see but have seen. One where she's no longer by my side, one where I have no idea why she played the game of hearts. The heart she played was me. My heart was stupid, blind because the hindsight was 20/20, yet I saw nothing until now. And now I know what I must do. I must run through those flames of bullets because I am a fighter and my fight has been won. Because I have found the truth, the one where I must let her go, not because I want to, but because I have to. I can no longer cry her a river and not have her notice. I hope she will speak to me one day. I cannot do that anymore. And after my fight, I have realized for this fact, I have won. I have found my courage to run through those flames with actions of words and bullets and say, I do not need her to be happy. I do not need her to live. I do not need her. I must let her go. And now finally I can relax, for I am home. I can breathe without suffocating, run without fear. I can rest knowing I did it. I finally have air in my lungs, no fear of nightmares, a place to set my thoughts. I can see the sun to a new day, a new path, and a new me, because I am the hero of my story, and I am courageous. Thank you. Thank you for your time and considering me for this title, and good luck to everyone else.
All right, y'all ready for the next reader? All right, let's give it up for, let me read her bio first, excuse me. Amelia Escalante is a senior at Bellevue West High School. Escalante is a film fanatic, lover of everything spicy, a part-time chef, and environmental enthusiast. Escalante explores race, fuzzy family memories, and the laziness of the Nebraska plains in sometimes abstract speech or clarity of aggression in her poems. In March 2023, Escalante became the state champion for Poetry Out Loud. In her few free mornings, Escalante enjoys reading a book and sipping on coffee. Please give it up for Amelia Escalante.
Hello. Thank you, Zadika, for that introduction. I am actually for breakfast, lunch. I did have very spicy food. Stomach right now, a little iffy, but we're gonna read this. Okay, so my first poem is Mother. Worn hands weigh on a weary youth, wiping skin cracked and scarred, washing away ragged hopes. The hands, your hands, only wish to provide comfort. They wait, longing to welcome home a soul slowly escaping. Years are stacked to create the mold for a perfect daughter, a child who ignites pride, loves unashamed, and is no burden. There are cracks to your perfection. A fungus creeps. It cuts and bruises. My pain, which is your pain, which is mine, can only be wiped clean by tears, tears you refuse to shed, so they pass through me instead. Once blood began to prematurely tint my cheeks pink every time we spoke, unable to separate anger and love, your voice changed. Now rough as a wooden spoon and worn as leather, your body changed. Now hunched and marked by an age I was ignorant to, a state of you I couldn't view, your emotions changed. My childish giggles no longer pull the edges of your mouth into a smile. My excited speech cannot elicit interest. My being is no longer able to pull out and embrace the love that is written in our blood. No. Now my breathing builds disappointment. Wrapped in a false change, you bend and ache. But were these new emotions gifts from you to me? Were they not always present? Were they not gifted from your mother and hers before? But you're weary, worn, and washed. Pale to the youth next to you, gray upon brown. Those weary hands yearn for a heart they have made weary. For womanhood is entered bathed in the blood left by motherhood, blood that is not warm. Just to preface, I love my mother, I love my mommy. Just angsty teen poetry. It has to be written at some point. Okay, and then this next poem is Promise. Sat in the passenger seat, sweat slipping out of each pore. The AC was broken. Warm air whipped through windows, offering little relief. Rumbling bounces in small ears, a clank of the car, a tut of the tire. A curse carelessly thrown from chapped lips, a poor attempt to hide an even poorer argument. The Spanish, the mijas, the silence. It all dances throughout the car in the warm breeze, but not carried far enough. They leap, dip, run to fill small ears, a beep, sigh, a thud. The sun beams on an already burnt face. When high above sat in the driver's seat, it illuminates the brown skin marked by stories left unsaid, ones where big chapped lips whisper into small ears when the sky is dark, earth and mother asleep. Stories of a vivid life spill into small ears. These thin lips offer, I won't be like that. A placid promise plated to placate big ears. Those big chapped lips inhale the turned sour breeze, bathe in the too rosy sun. Crinkled eyes that hold valleys, wear for the small in the passenger seat. Mija, don't make promises you can't keep. And then my last poem is Make Me Numb. I can breathe. I am home to a multitude of throbbing organs. I exist. Those are two facts my mind often forgets. They are life-defining, but so very forgetful. My mind yearns to wander, to leap, to bound, not into a fantastical world, but a void, a lack of space, an empty pocket, a darkness too deep it can only envelop, a cocoon for the caterpillar to rot. Here I can hang up my existence at this tear in space and dive into numbness, Here the burden rises off my too tired lungs. I can sink. Abandon the day's created torments, the year's lingering pains. Nothing welcomes me, and I welcome nothing in turn. It is an embrace I've longed for days since my eyes developed sight past a foot. It is the worn blanket carried from room to room, year to year. A foolish hope for warmth where there was none. It is a kiss to the hand, head, heart. It lacks the sting of love. Here I am not reminded of the sticky child who would have looked up and even with a half-baked mind been so very disappointed. She who grabbed joy and shook it to tears, ripped every laugh from its feeble frame. She who drowned herself over and over and over and over to make air seem attractive. She who climbed mountains to achieve an opaque, rosy view. She is abandoned at the entrance. She doesn't reach out. She's learned not to. I never was good with children. In this void, I float on emptiness. Why was I given a gift I seem unable to celebrate? Why have I killed a child only to mourn it? Why did you watch me? Blood dripping down the hand I gutted myself with and feel relief. I gutted myself. You had to rip apart your heart. Mine was the lesser pain. Thank you.
That is a hike from the back of the room in case anyone was curious. You have made it to our fifth and final of 5 finalists. Eve Bishop is a freshman at Chadron High School. Bishop is a poet, author, reader, and artist, loving essentially anything and everything to do with literature. Her poetry is a diverse landscape inspired by a plethora of concepts and styles. Because of this, she can often be found writing away in her room, articulating feelings about nature, introspection, and much more. Her works have been published by the Scholastic Writing and Art Awards, as well as by Creative Communication. Despite being an avid poet, she also very much enjoys traveling and trying new experiences. Unfortunately, Eve was unable to join us tonight, but we do have a video selection of her poetry and commentary to share with you now. So please clap for Eve.
The brine of the waves swoops up from shore, the living in the sky, like it has belonged there all its life, its fleeting, fleeting life. It raises up as a blank sheet of warmth, higher than the fraying ridge line of ink-stained peaks, and collapses again like the fell storm. It makes the immortal sky wonder, with all its heavy inheritance and upheld legacy, in all its fading blue glory of sound and fury, what it means to rise and to fall. I wrote To Rise and to Fall when we were on a trip to Denver, and we were passing the Rocky Mountains that were coming just into view, and they were just majestic on the horizon. A giant cloud was coming up behind them, and I thought it was beautiful. And then I saw the sky behind the clouds, and I wrote the poem thinking about how the sky would feel, knowing it's been there forever and it will be there forever. When the air turns brittle and the world slows down some, and the taste of hibiscus lingers on my tongue, I can recall the memories buried away in the distant horizon, invisible to the eye unless one is looking. When the air turns brittle and my glasses fog up as I step inside the warmth of a home, and the tips of my fingers burn from the loneliness, I can recall the instances in my life I had forgotten. The soft moments, the cold moments, the moments that never occurred, the wonderings, the sky. I can recall my mother making steamed eggs for the first time, chawanmushi, though I didn't know that at the time. I can recall standing up in the tech booth for the musical, where the AC didn't work, with 2 others, grinning wildly and laughing my heart out as we tried our luck at the languages that belonged in our hearts but were not truly ours. I can recall winning little games at home with my parents and trying my own at creating one, though I never did succeed. I can recall a kind teacher who spoke the language of art and understood something I delicately held in the palm of my hand. I can recall running in circles around the tiny playground with my friend, chasing and laughing with the sun warm on our skin. I can recall the soft moments. I can recall being criticized as a joke by my friends, by teachers, by people I barely knew, all before the age of 10. I can recall not knowing how to match clothes or communicate well. I can recall being laughed at, with a chill in the air, but the sun was still in the sky. I can recall crying alone in the middle of the night, because my dreams reflected the reality of it all, and I didn't know how to face something like that. I can recall the cold moments. I can recall the scented mandarins and oak-hued eyes lighting up with excitement, with muffled laughter and soft breezes. I can recall leaning on a shoulder and walking in the sweltering heat, under the shade of a single umbrella. I can recall falling in love but not knowing it at all. I can recall being a friend and sharing your joy, and meeting a mother because she teaches the classes I took. I can recall loving the way I would love any lover. I can recall the moment that never occurred. Right over our heads, could we have known I would be sitting here, thinking about the days we let slip from our grasps. Nothing really remains, and I can barely remember now. If I went back to the moment, could I have changed the emptiness I feel in my lungs now, as my heart tightens with an ache? Would I? Or would I let the natural course of things run like a stream, flipping and plopping naively, and laughing without a care in the world, with the wind and the stardust and the sun in our eyes, trailing off into a run-on, and no worry about it either? Whose fault is it? Would I still be who I am today, if not for who I was yesterday? Is the same true about tomorrow? The sky is blue for miles, and I don't think even the best of scientists could tell me where it truly ends. I suppose it never really ends, just fading out forever in a palette of colors. Is it like a clock, always running, rusting away into the stars and washing out the sunlight? But then again, nothing really remains, and I can barely remember now. Probably a sign I am too young to be recalling the sky, and a sign I am too old to have so many questions. But that doesn't change a thing, with the exception of insecurities and little instances. I can still recall the wonderings, the sky. I can recall the soft moments, the cold moments, the moments that never occurred, the wonderings, the sky. My mind whispers, "Welcome home," and the tension in my shoulder disperses as I fall out of the memories. I suppose it's when the air turns brittle, and the world slows down some, and the taste of hibiscus lingers on my tongue. When my glasses fog up as I step inside the warmth of home, and the tips of my fingers burn from the loneliness, I recall the memories of a distant horizon, the instances in my life I've forgotten, the soft moments, the cold moments, the moments that never occurred, the wonderings, the sky, as if I could ever forget the sky. I wanted to write a poem that expressed how I felt over my entire life. All my memories, how I felt now, thinking about those memories. Mainly, though, I wanted to convey my wonderance of if those mistakes I made in the past, the ones I regret, would I be who I am today? And if I make mistakes today and I regret them tomorrow, will I be the person I am tomorrow because of today? And I just wanted to think about what's happened over my entire life and see what I get from it, because I think I've achieved a lot, but at the same time I've made a lot of mistakes I really regret, and I just wanted to show that through words.
No worries. There we go. I can use my inside voice still. All right, so before we bring our state's current Youth Poet Laureate to the stage, we would like to show you what the last year has been like for our team, as we've had the enormous privilege of working with Tanya Bachu and her mentors Ryan Boyland and Noni Williams. When we met Tanya last spring, she immediately expressed an interest in healthcare, the sciences, and sharpening her performance skills. So we decided to match her with Ryan Boyland, an enormously talented poet who has performed on stages across the country and just so happened to be completing his final year of medical school. It was also important to Tanya that she have the opportunity to work alongside and learn from women, especially women who shared her passion for educational equity. So we decided to match her with Noni Williams, a brilliant poet and data expert who frequently braids mathematics into her creative writing. Under Ryan's creative expertise and Noni's civic leadership, we have watched Tanya's growth over the past year. She speaks and stands with more confidence, taking up greater space on stage. The temperature of her writing has gone up several degrees, and she is not writing as a passive observer, but as an active participant and change maker in the world around her. Noni and Ryan have, of course, had a hand in this growth, but we all agree it's Tanya who has picked up her pen and done the work. As part of her final project as a Youth Poet Laureate, Tanya is building the website named Resource Toolkit. It was created in hopes to provide a place where high school students can find a helpful resource to further enhance their studies in science and math. Having useful online textbooks, videos, study guides, and more that are easily accessible from the website will hopefully help students solve their academic questions. Additionally, the website incorporates poetry as a way to de-stress from school and instead unlock students' creative minds. Several poetry prompts are embedded into the website, which will help spark new ideas and creativity. In order to give you a full view of the amazing work that has been done in the last year, we have a short video that we'll ask you to watch.
Dreams. Dancing on a shadowy wall, purple-gray figures, nodding misty heads, waving dusky arms in their play. I feel like I write poems and they just get lost in like a drawer in my room, but through this position I would be able to actually share them more.
Tanya is an incredible young person who has really interesting ideas, a well-spoken, very nice, very thoughtful student.
Groups, treading cloudy sod, float, mystic. Formless shapes pass, flutter, and are gone, blue-black in the passive dusk.
I think the Youth Poet Laureate program is important so that other students can see an example of what is possible, giving each poet the opportunity to make it their own, to find their voice the way that they want to, and to engage in the way that they want to. It allows us to shine this light on important topics to individuals and bring it into a bigger conversation.
And I think Tanya, being a young person who's doing this thing and who's in this role and has this opportunity to reach so many people, I think can really serve to encourage others to do the same.
Her confidence has grown so much with performance. I remember at the beginning, you could see that she was new to the performance space.
I remember my first event was the Omaha Music Festival, and I was so nervous. I was like, I've never done anything like this before. I think I'm gonna mess up, I'm gonna fall on the stage. I was really nervous, but it went really well.
The emotion and the vulnerability in her piece shine through. And to see her now speaking and performing more, you can see that performer growing and glowing inside of her.
Faces emerging from the shifting haze smile and nod, then disappear from memory. From the murk, a bright cloud, it tumbles, rolling and twisting, it breaks, and from its rosy heart pours a golden mist, exhaling mystic odors.
I think that there's a lot of value in having that creative mind and being able to talk to people and connect with people and use your words to reach other people's hearts and minds.
I hope that the next Youth Poet Laureates just really like is themselves when they're having this position, whether it's writing poems or performing, they really just show their true selves. I feel like this is a position where you can just be yourself no matter what.
I think part of Tanya's legacy is going to be having the courage to step out of a comfort zone, to engage in something new. It inspires me too, to want to do things that maybe I haven't done before, but I think this might be a cool opportunity. Let me lean into it. Let me try something new. I think that will be part of her legacy, is courage.
Compelling, drugging, dreams, dancing on a rosy wall, calling, beckoning, dreams.
Live and in person. In her own words, we'd like to introduce you to Tanya Bachu, our 2022-23 Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate, for the final time. It was really exciting. Named the Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate in 2022, Tanya is an avid writer who takes her knowledge to different perspectives. Born in Omaha, Nebraska in 2007, Tanya has never lived anywhere else, but even though the city she lives in is small, her dreams have always been big. She is continuously writing poetry and has done several performances, including performing on the main stage at the Omaha Music Festival and performing a commissioned poem for the annual Women's Fund of Omaha's Lead the Change event, among others. Please put your hands together, welcome her to the podium for the final public performance from this year's Youth Poet Laureate.
Hi everyone, thank you. And first off, I want to start by saying congratulations to all the finalists. It's so great that you've made it this far. And it's seriously such a great position being Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate. But whether or not you receive the title today, you all have so much talent and you're going to do amazing things. So I'm here today to share one last poem before the title gets passed on. And it's kind of perfect because my mentors were talking about my confidence growing and all that, and that's exactly how I wrote this poem. I reflected on my time as Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate and just realized how much I've grown as a person in my confidence, in my speaking and writing skills. You seriously just learn and are supported so much, and it's amazing. So here's the poem. There's a place where I'm safe and sound, a world of words that I've always found, a refugee from life's chaos and noise, where I can escape and find my voice. But sometimes I feel the urge to roam, to venture out of my cozy home, to take a step and try something new, to see what else I can do. So I take a deep breath and take the stage, and try to push past my doubts and rage, to speak my truth and share my tale, to let my words unfurl and prevail. It's scary and daunting, this unknown land, but I know that growth is at my command, that by stepping out of my comfort zone, I'll find a new strength that's all my own. I may stumble and falter, but that's okay, for each mistake is a lesson on the way, and with each step I take, I grow into a writer and performer I never know. So here's to the journey, the highs and lows, to the risks we take and the seeds we sow. For in the end, it's not just what we've shown, but how much we've grown. Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone.
All right, friends, I feel that I can call you that after we've spent the night together, gotten to know one another. You are rounding the end and nearing the crown. There's not a real crown, but there is a trophy.
Something to work on.
There's a plaque. We're gonna get there. First, we have to express our gratitude. I want to thank our Youth Poet Laureate interns, Asia and Ellie, from the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. They sorted and filed all of these applications, triple-checked my math, and made sure that every judge had access to what they needed throughout this process, and they did it all with a lot of kindness and a lot of good humor. So I really could not have asked for a better team. I also want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Todd Simon and Omaha Steaks for their support of the Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate program as this year's presenting sponsor. The Simon family has a long-standing tradition of championing the arts in Omaha, and we are so thankful they have chosen to extend this tradition to our program. Thank you to Ryan Martin and the entire team at Dundee Bank for their continued sponsorship of this program. They believed in it before it fully existed in the world, and we thank them for their incredible vision and support of nonprofits across the state.
All right, I'd like to thank our judges, Nancy Berg, Lenora Castillo, Arden Eli Hill, Angelina McGrail, Audrey Nance, Jennifer J.P. Perrine, and Jeffrey Southall II. I cannot stress this enough. Our judges are published writers, artists, activists, and advocates for these are folks with decades of combined experience in community work and creative writing. All have some tether to Nebraska, to this place, to the poets and the young people growing here. They have lived so fully that sometimes they threaten to burst at the seams, and still, they made time for this program and for you poets. That's a testament to all the good that's happening here tonight. Judges, we could not have been here without you, and thank you all. We'd also like to thank our community partners, Nebraskans for the Arts, the Nebraska Writing Project, the Union for Contemporary Art, Elevate Omaha, the Malone Center, and United by Culture Media. These folks helped us get the word out about our Youth Poet Laureate program via social media, physical flyers, and direct conversations with the young people they work with. We have heard time and time again that the difference between a young person applying to this program and not can be as simple as a moment of encouragement from a respected adult in their lives. There's so much power in that, and we are grateful to our community partners for shining a spotlight on these students and their stories.
We want to thank Summer and Pamela for being our ASL interpreters. We love y'all and we're very grateful. We want to thank our venue, Omaha Conservatory of Music, for hosting us in this stunning space tonight. The staff here have been so generous with their time and enthusiastic about the work that we're doing across Nebraska. And a special thanks to Ian and Kyle, who have answered all my questions with a lot of knowledge and a lot of grace. I have many questions. To our YPL applicants, thank you for seeing yourselves in this program and trusting us with your work. We are so proud of you. The collective light that you brought to this project shines statewide.
I'd like to thank our mentors for this year, Ryan Boyland, the creative mentor, and Noni Williams, the civic mentor. Your mentorship meant that Tanya had the opportunity to see so many sides of herself as an artist, an equity advocate, and a STEM lover in the two of you. That braiding of science and art is a rare reflection, and we're grateful for the hours you spent championing Tanya and guiding her towards growth and celebrating her wins. To Tanya, our second ever Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate, thank you for teaching us new ways to consider the natural world, our friendship, and the women who raise us, lead us, and teach us. Your poetry has inspired hundreds of people across the state, and you have owned every stage you have ever stepped on. I admire your quiet confidence, the sure way you move through the world as an academic, athlete, and artist. There is no one like you, Tanya, and I'm excited for all the ways you're going to reshape the world. We'll be right here, cheering for you.
May we please have the 4 finalists who are in the room come up and join us on stage. That's right. That is the correct amount of energy. I love y'all so much. At the Nebraska Writers Collective, we like to say that the points are not the point is the poetry. It's not about winning, but writing. These young people have transformed their memories, experiences, hopes, and fears into art. Many of us in this room are not brave enough or ready enough to do the work that these poets have done here tonight. Finalists, you are brave. You are ready. You dreamed a bigger future for yourself and imagined the stage, the community work, the crowds. Whether it whispered or shouted, something in you said, I can do this. I can be the next Nebraska Youth Poet Laureate. That is the point.
All right. So each year we name a runner-up who will assume the YPL title in case the Youth Poet Laureate is unable to accept the position or perform their duties. So this year, Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate runner-up is Amelia Escalante.
Tanya, would you like to do the honors?
Come through. All right. And this year, Nebraska's Youth Poet Laureate for 2023 is Aaliyah American Horse.
That is the full program that we have. Like I said earlier tonight, y'all, writers, it does not stop here. This is the beginning. These are your peers. This is your cohort. Please make connections, talk with each other. Tanya is here. Mimi Yu is not here tonight, but she is the other member of this cohort. We are growing. You all are so powerful. Folks, if you want to follow along with Aaliyah's journey with us this year, you can do so at Any Writers on Facebook and Instagram. Aaliyah, you are going to be everywhere in the state of Nebraska doing a whole lot of poems. I hope you're ready, and I hope you're so excited. We are really thrilled to work with you. Congratulations to everyone here tonight. Thank you for coming, and drive safely.
Stage, it seemed to me, makeup on their faces, actors took